What do I know about nuclear energy? Not much, honestly. Maybe source of energy. It's used in weapons, and it's partially safe alternative to oil and propane energy.
Isn't nuclear fission what keeps the sun going?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
What?
Nuclear energy.
That it can be that.
That is nuclear and energy-like.
Nuclear energy is, unfortunately, causing a big problem in Japan right now.
I know that it was a problem over in Japan.
What I read in the papers.
It's cheap. It's good for the environment, but at the same time, if it goes bad, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Absolutely not.
Nothing. Not much.
It explodes. It's a lot cheaper than like other energy. It could be really, really useful. But then like you die. Nuclear energy, not much. No, I don't like that.
I know it's harnessed by most countries for evil, and that it's a force that shouldn't be reckoned with, shouldn't be used, and shouldn't be in existence.
Rachel, as a nuclear power plant manager, what do you think about nuclear energy?
Nuclear energy is a safe and effective way to supply the need for energy in the United States. It does not release carbon dioxide, which makes it very healthy for the environment.
How safe is it?
Nuclear energy is very safe. There's only been 9 accidents in the United States so far, and we're not predicting any more. Nuclear fission is, contrary to popular belief, is very safe.
What protection do workers have against radiation?
For the most part. Machines take care of most of the reactions, and workers stay very far away from it.
They have to have some exposure to it. How much do you think they get?
On average, workers will get less than 1 rem a year. There's 1,000 millirems in 1 rem, and to put it into perspective, if you get an X-ray, it'll be 20 millirems in that X-ray.
Oh, so not very much at all.
Not very much at all. And workers can get up to 5 rem a year until they are taken out of the plant, and they'll be gone for testing to make sure they don't have any damage due to that radiation. But it's very unlikely that they will have any damage if they get 5 rem.
Good. What happens in case of a meltdown?
In case of a meltdown, the plant can be shut down within 5 seconds. We'll have a DOE, the Department of Energy, come in and inspect the plant to make sure there's no damage done to any of the equipment, that there's no leaks, so radiation can get out to the civilians around the plant or the workers. Once the plant is cleared by the DOE, workers can go back into the plant and we can get it up and running within a few hours.
What happens to nuclear waste?
There's a very long process with nuclear waste. There are 3 levels of nuclear waste: low level, intermediate, and high level. Okay, low level waste is buried in the ground because it cannot do much damage to its environment. Intermediate waste is mixed with concrete because the radiation waves can't penetrate to the concrete, and intermediate waste actually can do harm to people and animals and crops. High level waste is taken care of by the DOE, the Department of Energy, and what they do with it is they store it
And shield it.
the DOE stores and shields it so it doesn't come in contact with people.
Good. Thank you very much, Rachel.
You're welcome, Abby.
Hello, everybody. My name is Senator Haley Joy Goodwin, and I'm here to talk to you folks about the situation in the United States regarding the nuclear power being the main source of energy here in this country. Now, my advisors and I thought long and hard about this decision, as all law officers try their hardest to keep the nation running in tip-top shape.
So what do you personally think about nuclear energy?
I'm sure many of y'all were wondering what this old southern has to say about that. Most of y'all are saying to yourselves, I'm sure this is a grand idea. Well, I'd like to start by showing y'all why this might not be such a great idea.
Please get to the point.
The point that the politicians support nuclear energy is that it's cheap and helps our environment. Well, if it's cheap, then for heaven's sakes, why did it cost American taxpayers $132 billion. That's a 4, a 9, a 2 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 zeros. This country is going off in a loophole, going in circles around the never-ending debt parade by not valorizing the real work that needs to be done. See, let's look at this in perspective. This country has to make money, right? Because we're in debt. Not with me, folks. I know you know this. If the government wants to fund such things as nuclear power plants, then they need to get the money to build high-quality, safe complexes, as well as management and operation fees. So, the government pays them. May I ask with what money? We'll have to pay $10 million per reactor.
Is this the only reason why you think nuclear energy is a bad idea for this country?
Well, little darling, I certainly do not believe it is. I believe that having nuclear power plants will be an open invitation for terrorism threats. If terrorists was to bomb a nuclear power plant, our land would cease to exist as we know it, and this country would never be the same again. It is so easy for one little mistake to go wrong that we need to be super extra duper-duper careful. If we have seen our country under attack, and nobody wants to see that happen again, there is absolutely no good that comes from nuclear power. One might certainly think so, but they are utterly fooled. All y'all hold on to your britches for this one. The waste from nuclear power plants lasts for 200 to 500,000 years. If there was any catastrophe of any sort, you wouldn't have any way of solving the problem. Take a look at 3 Mile Island, for example. Dawson County, Pennsylvania, in 1979 experienced one of the worst man-made catastrophes of all time. 13 million curies of radioactive noble gases were released into the atmosphere. The state of Pennsylvania hid from the public records any documentations of health records related reports regarding the accident, deleting any evidence that they could, even though Pennsylvanians were suffering skin sores and lesions after being exposed to the fallout, and many developing tumors and breathing problems. While the nuclear industry maintains that there was no one who had died at 3 Mile Island, it continuously refused to allow an open judicial hearing on the hundreds of cases still pending. Thank you all for listening to me today, and I hope you vote no for nuclear power. Remember, Haley Joy Goodwin from Texas.
So what regulations are there on nuclear energy?
There's a whole gamut of regulations on nuclear energy that are promulgated by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, originally started by the Atomic Energy Commission in the early 50s, when nuclear power was first thought about. And what they're geared toward is protecting the occupational aspects of working around nuclear power.
So the workers.
The workers, and then the releases that are allowed to the public. So workers, I'll give you an example. 600 rads of radiation, which is a very, very high dose. It's like you'd have to be in the reactor itself, would cause death. 300 rads would cause permanent injury, loss of hair. For an example, now I'm going to say this, but this is the problem with nuclear power in terms of the normal public perception, is somehow the people that are against it make them think that it's like an atomic bomb, like it's going to blow up, and it can't. And if you've talked to other experts, you know why. But I can explain that if you want to know. But in any event, for example, the bombs that we dropped in Japan, in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, released that kind of radiation and caused, not only from the heat and the explosion, not only caused death from that, but caused death from radiation long term. People did die from radiation. People were sick. They lost their hair. They got cancer. So
it's the same kind of radiation, but totally different causes. What about nuclear waste? What happens to it?
Okay, nuclear waste is basically caused by the reactions. Excuse me. By the reactions in the nuclear reactions in the reactor, and after a while, the amount of power, the specific power, it's an economics decision that's made. In other words, reactions can go on for years and years and years, but every 10 years or so, they decide they're going to refuel the reactor. You're going to put in fresh fuel and start the process over again.
Why?
Because it's, like as I said, it's economic. In other words, the amount of concentration of the uranium dwindles down as
so it's less power.
It's less specific power. It's less heat. In other words, and it's less controllable. The way you control a reaction in a reactor is you have these control rods, these boron rods that move up and down in the core. And when the boron rods are fully down in the core, the neutrons that are released from the fission of the uranium are absorbed by the boron in the control rods, and the reaction stops. So the longer and longer and longer the reactor is operating, the more these rods have to keep coming out and out and out, because it's got to expose more of the uranium to the fission process to generate the same amount of heat.
Oh, I see.
So
it's harder to stop the reaction.
It's harder to stop. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is the amount of heat you get out. It's really more an economic, partly a safety consideration, but an economic consideration. So they got to replace the fuel that's in there and refuel it. So now you take the fuel out and you got to put it somewhere.
And that's what the waste is?
That's the waste.
How much of it is there?
Well, that's a good question. There's literally, I would say I'm guessing, about 100 tons per every 10 years that gets replaced. Now, in addition to the high level waste that I just mentioned, there's low level waste, and that's from the cooling systems that circulate the water within the closed loop that's created. Again, when you're making nuclear energy, you have it's two loops. You got a closed loop where the radioactive processes are going on, and then you got a secondary loop with the heat exchanger, very much like that air conditioner over there, where you've got freon coming into the air. Yeah, so they were pumping in concrete to provide additional shielding because they couldn't get enough water there. They also were pumping. They gave up the plant when they started pumping seawater in, because salt water now corrodes the steel that the plant's made of, that the reactor boundary is contained within. So once you start doing that, you know that they've already given it up. They're going to tear down that reactor or shut it down. That'll be the end of that. They'll rebuild it or they'll do something. Anyway, so they did whatever they could. They pumped in water from the sea. They pumped in concrete to shield. And right now, as far as I know, they're keeping the public away, obviously, because it's not completely stable.
What are the people that are working there, though?
The people that are working there, what they do is they suit them up with again, remember the alpha rays we talked about earlier? Yeah. So they protect about alpha and beta with the suits, not gamma, because they'll go right through the suit. You can't put a guy in a concrete suit or a lead suit. So, but anyway, so they suit them up for that, and then they say, okay, now we have an accident. That 150 rem a year that we talked about, we can really go to 300 rem a year.
And that's not safe.
Well, it's all right. It's not going to cause permanent damage. You're an occupational worker, you can handle it. So they increase the allowable dose in responding to an accident. But now this reactor is pumping out a lot more than that. So they say, well, you can only go in there for 4 hours today. So they do it by shift. So they don't let the guy get exposed to more than a greater amount that would be allowed for accidental responses. Okay, what that says, what they figured out is, over his lifetime now, let's talk about this occupational worker that got 300. Over his lifetime, he still can't get more than the equivalent of 150 per year for, let's say, 10 years.
So he gets retired early. So he gets retired early, or he gets told, you can't work in that exposure any longer. Now we're going to put you on a desk job, away from that exposure. For, let's say, instead of 10 years, you only got 8. So that's how they do it. And it's pretty logical, and it works. All right.
So,
thank you very much.
plants instead of fission plants.
Would they be better?
Would they be better? They would be 10 to the 12th times better.
How many zeros are on that?
1, 2, 3. You know what? It doesn't matter. Anyway.
Why would they be better?
They would be better.
What makes the wake so dangerous?
Darn it! This is so exciting. I can't say what it sounds. Hey, would it be a trick?
Sure, Angie. Did you hit your head?
No,
And meanwhile, doing bio. Okay, Angie, I'm gonna turn it off now.
No! Kate! We're getting so much yarn. Well, I knew we wouldn't.
Okay, can I turn it off now?
Superman!
Yeah.
Go.
We can't see your face. Run.